Frequently asked question, should I use a continuous ridgeline or split ridgeline? Well, here's a little video for you to consider to help make your decision. So here's a couple of tarps. So let's do a continuous ridgeline on this one. So we got a main line that goes around the trees and it's tensioned by some kind of device right here. I use a toggle. And then the tie outs right here on the tarp are just connected by another device, and then they connect to the corner tie outs. So the main line across the two trees can be set up by itself, and then you can slide the tarp where you want. So that's the continuous ridgeline. So here is kind of like what you would have on the continuous ridgeline. This yellow one would be your main one, which would be very tight, and then these little prusicks will connect to the tarp. And so now let's do a split ridgeline. With this one, we go around the tree and we hook to the tarp. And then over here, we go around the tree and we hook to the tarp. And then we're going to pull right here and pull right here to create tension on the ridgeline and to set the tarp up. So this way can be a little bit less convenient because when you center the tarp, you got to make sure you get the first setup right. Otherwise, you have to go back and forth to get it perfect. Which, if you kind of know your setup, is probably less inconvenient for some people, but it's still a little less convenient. And the main reason that I chose a continuous ridgeline is because with certain tarps, they don't like to be constantly stress loaded, like a Dyneema tarp. So in this situation, the ridgeline of the tarp up here is taking a bunch of the stress. Have you ever laid on the ground and looked up at the trees and noticed how they move back and forth? Well, these trees will move in the wind, and that puts stress right on these corners. And if you have a Dyneema tarp, they don't like to stretch at all. They don't like to stress cycle. And so you're constantly pulling, and eventually that tie out is going to fail sooner versus if you had this type of tie out. So with this one, as this line gets tight, this little distance between the tarp and the main ridge line, there's a little bit of an arc. As this line pulls, the tarp can adjust by kind of arcing like this. And so there's a lot less stress on the tarp. Now there's another way you can accomplish this stress reduction by tying out your Dyneema tarp at an angle. So if you had a split ridge line, you could bring it up to the tree like this. And now you might think that's not going to work because as you pull this line tight, everything's going to go straight. But you can get that tension by cranking your ground ties out a little harder. And then as the trees pull in the wind, this line that is at an angle from the tree will actually arc like this and give some stress relief for your tarp. So the main consideration, in my opinion, is just the lack of stress on the tarp. A Dyneema tarp, DCF, Cuban fiber, that type of stuff. Probably sil poly to a little bit of a degree, and sil nylon and other polyurethane heavy duty tarps, not so much because they're just going to stretch right along with your line. And of course, if you're using paracord or stretchy line, this is less of a consideration, but using stretchy line on the main ridge line of your tarp is not a great idea because it will sag overnight. And then you can get like water pooled up and other stuff. Having a low stretch line really works the best. So that is just a quick look at some considerations when you're using different types of tarp ridge lines. I know some people also ask, should I put this main line underneath the tarp? You can do that. It doesn't work as good because you lose some of your water shedding. This line will shed water for you. And as that tarp slides back and forth in the wind and stuff, you can wear a little wear hole in the tarp as it rides along the line. And having the line under the tarp to get tension to keep it straight is really not necessary. Having a little bit of tension here and here works just as good as having the line under the tarp. So thanks for watching. Check the description for some links on how to do both of these setups. And also, I hope you enjoyed my amazing artwork. These trees are so realistic. See y'all later.